And we're live. I'm here with Brian Barkhoff, and Brian has a very interesting story to tell. And so basically, Brian, tell that story. Let's hear it.
All right. Let's see. I grew up in a really good home, and
Okay. Where was that?
that was in Purdy,
Okay.
Missouri.
Southwest Missouri.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I really didn't have a dysfunctional home, so the choices I made in my adolescent and teen years just were really my choices. It wasn't
Okay.
because of environment or really anything. But I drank alcohol for the first time around 15 years old, and then
Okay.
smoked pot around 16. And actually got in my first car accident with alcohol involved at 16 years old.
Right.
And that was 1996. So that was a long time ago.
Right.
And at that time, I got a BAC because I was a minor. And
And it
so
was
they
a
didn't give
different
me
time, definitely.
yeah, right.
Totally different time.
Totally different time.
Right.
And so really I had no thoughts of changing my drinking because I felt like everybody drank and drove and everybody drank on the weekends, and that's how it started, was just recreational using, and then
Sure.
it quickly progressed. And I got my next driving offense at 18, and
Okay.
and that one was an official DWI.
Okay.
So then and my alcoholism just kept getting worse and worse, and people would try to talk to me about it, but I always felt like I just made a bad decision and that it could have happened to anybody. And so I kept, things in my life just slowly started to fall apart. I got kicked out of high school for bad attendance. Um, and about 20 years old, and I had lost my license for 2 years from
Oh,
when
wow.
I was 18. And when I was 20, I had just got my license back. And by that time, I had really, my alcoholism had really skyrocketed. I blacked out just about every day.
Wow.
And my tolerance was really high.
I'm sure it was.
So I got in my car, and it was just after I had gotten my license back, and I got in my car to drive, and felt like I was okay, and went just a few miles down the road, and I don't know if I blacked out or if I passed out, but I hit a car, and they were a family that was on vacation from out of state,
Oh my
and they
gosh.
had an 8-month-old baby in the back seat, and the driver had to be airlifted, and it was just a
Wow.
bad deal. No one died, but that was the first time that my decisions had victimized someone like that. And
Yes.
so it really messed me up. And I went to rehab after that, my first 30-day rehab. Um, and for that accident, they wanted to give me a third DWI. And so I actually plea bargained for a second-degree assault charge.
Okay.
And so I went and did a 120, and I was
Um,
supposed to get called back from that 120. And I wasn't participating. I wasn't sharing. I
right.
was just a scared 20-year-old kid, in prison.
Right.
And so they thought I was trying to manipulate and slide by in the woodwork. And so they kicked me out, and I went to Boonville.
Oh no.
Yeah. So I stayed there about another year.
Okay.
Um, and I had no thoughts of drinking alcohol ever again because I
Uh,
hurt somebody.
right.
But in the back of my mind, I always thought, well, I can still do other things. I can still smoke
Sure.
weed, or I could still do stimulants.
Right.
So I got out of prison after about a year, and I walked down 2 years of parole, and then made the decision right around 2 weeks of getting off probation. I just have this thing
Uh,
about 2 weeks within a success, I guess, of making a terrible decision.
right.
And so I started doing coke, and then I
Oh.
um, quickly just moved from that to meth because it was cheaper and lasted
Right.
longer. And I quit my job and I started selling it. And
Okay.
so I could.
Brian, you're still there? Okay, I didn't get that. So start again. Tell me that story. I got the cocaine part and the meth part, but tell me what happened next.
Okay, so that would have been about 2003. And
Okay.
then in 2005, I got arrested for the first time for possession of a controlled substance with intent to
Okay.
distribute. And that was in Barry County. And by that time, I felt like I was, not a bad guy. I wasn't an addict.
Right.
Um,
And you weren't a bad guy.
yeah, I tried not to be.
Right.
But so, yeah. And then I started going to court over that possession charge. And
Right.
I made some attempts to try to stay sober in that period of time. And
And
rehabs.
now, there we go.
I went to a couple of different rehabs. And I just got out, and I would last a week or two, and I just continued to go back to the same old friends and the same places. And so I just couldn't quit.
Right.
And about a year after my first charge, I got another charge, same thing, possession with intent to distribute.
Wow.
And so they put me on probation. And
really?
Yeah. So I got two 5-year sentences. And they put me on probation. I was so bad and just my life was so unmanageable. I couldn't even put together 72 hours to go pee for the PO.
Really?
So first time I met him, I got a dirty UA. Second time, and I got 6 dirty UAs within just a really short time. And so he sent me to another rehab.
Any more to say?
We back?
Yeah, I'm still on. Yes.
Okay. So I just couldn't quit doing it. And I lasted 1 week after rehab. And then shortly after, I got another dirty UA, and he sent me to go do a 120.
Right.
And I went and did the 120, and I got out, did pretty well for about 6 months. And I joined the Church Army program in Branson. And this was back in 2007. And the fall of 2007. And I made it about 6 months, and I started just hanging out with people that were partying and just breaking my routines. I quit reading my Bible. I quit going to church.
Sure.
And things just slowly started to fall apart again. And I relapsed. And within a 3-day period, I lost really everything that I had worked for. My sobriety, the house that I lived in wanted to give me a UA, and I wouldn't take it. So they kicked me out. They called my PO. My PO called me and said, "Barkhoff, if you don't call me before 4:30, I'm going to have a warrant out for your arrest." And then the next day, my car completely broke down, like engine blew, broke down. So 3 days it took to lose really everything that I had worked for. And so, but it didn't stop me. I finally got back into one of the houses, and I wasn't prepared for meth to be put in front of my face. And I thought I was, going into a safe atmosphere, and one of the guys that had known me.
Sure. Are you still there?
So that set me on another little spree, and that lasted about 6 months. And it ended up being a really big deal and really public, because I was meeting a guy, and I thought I was only selling drugs to one guy, but it turns out he was going to an apartment complex and selling to a bunch of people in the program. So a lot of people lost their programs over that.
Oh my gosh.
Just a crazy deal. But I came back to Monette area, and really just that last year, 2008, was just the darkest year of my life. I mean, I had a really bad habit of I'd try to stay up as long as I could, and I would fall asleep at the wheel. And most of the time, I only had one accident, which was the alcohol related one that I had involved other people. All the other accidents, I would just I'd fall asleep driving, and I'd either hit a tree or I'd go off the road, or there was a time I rolled a vehicle down a ravine, and I'd never get hurt. And these cars would just get totaled, and I just kept not recognizing all these signs, and just crazy. But I finally, after that last year in 2008, Church Army accepted me back into the program for the third time. And that was December of 2008. And from there, just a lot of amazing things started happening. Even the same judge that sent me to prison before was my judge. And he told me that if I stay in the program,
Judge Sweeney?
I think it was, yeah.
Okay.
It was Judge Sweeney. And he said, if Barkhoff, if you're even late for curfew, I'm going to throw you in prison. So, and my girlfriend at the time had become pregnant. And so really my daughter about to be born is what pushed me into recovery, because I just couldn't stand the thought of being a dad from prison or her growing up without me,
Right.
So that's kind of what pushed me into recovery. And then a whole lot of things had to happen after that to, keep me there.
I'm sure that's right. But now let's talk about what needs to be changed to reshape the justice system.
Okay.
You've been in this system?
I think, I think there's just a lot wrong with the justice system.
Okay, well, tell me. Preach.
Well, I think some of the programs that used to, make a little bit of a difference, they don't even do anymore. Like a lot of DARE programs have been discontinued.
Okay.
Unless the school will fund it on their own.
So more community stuff, more community involvement.
Yeah. And I've been a counselor for the last 7 years, and I started my journey in counseling in 2013 at Ozark Correctional Center.
Okay.
And that was obviously a profound experience to go back into the prison system.
Oh yeah,
as a staff member. And so I saw a lot, and I got a lot of really good experience. And
You're still there? Hello?
I feel like
let's try that again. What did you say about that? Okay.
So since about 2015, I have been teaching SATOP.
Right.
And so when people get a DWI, as you know, then they have to take the SATOP class.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I feel like, actually, I know that if we could condense that content and just have people take a 1-hour course on just being educated about the risks of drinking and driving, how long it takes your BAC to come down to 0. There's just a lot of education that I think we could get, in people's hands that would help them to even know when they're over the limit, and that one drink impairs your judgment enough that you can't make a decision that you're good to drive, So I feel like a lot of education in that sense. But there again, that probably won't happen.
Well, that's what we're trying to make happen, is trying to find ways to, reshape the justice system. Because my friend that started this thing, we said, it's not exactly restoring the justice system because it's never been just. We need to reshape it to make it more just to everybody.
Right. I mean, yeah, and I love what you're doing. It's an honor to, be heard. And
right. And be on the board of the dang thing. I'm really happy to have you on the board. You've been a
yeah.
big friend, a big help through my friend Barry, who connected us. And so
Oh, okay.
basically, as we're doing this thing, I just want to say that I'm so glad that you're interested and involved. And people need to go to reshapingjustice.org. That is a website. It has started. We're still in the process of getting approved for our 501c3, but it's a thing that's going to be heard. And I want to hear more stories of how people have been hurt and people that are affected by the justice system, and how to change it, how to help change it.
Right.
Does that
Yeah,
help?
I think we're making some strides. I think with peer support specialists, that's a good thing that's going on. I think we don't focus enough on the reentry process and getting people plugged in once they get out of prison.
Okay.
To the right places. And then I also think that there could be just a lot of different things we could do with preventing them from going back to prison, but also preventing and diverting people from going to prison in the first place.
And treating them like human beings, that they're still a part and they still matter. And that to me gets thrown under the rug, and that's what we need to shine a light on.
It does. Yeah, and it's crazy how some people, that I've seen on staff will treat the inmates, and yeah, they're still human beings. They made a bad decision. In fact,
exactly.
They're just kind of stuck in a rut. I mean, it's been an amazing experience to bring that perspective to staff members, But yeah, I think there's definitely some things, even if it's just taking these people back into prison just to remind them what it's like. You don't even have to really do anything special. I mean, go show them the razor wire. I mean, just remind them what it is that they are at risk of losing.
Right. All that is huge, and that's why I like your involvement in this thing. I'm so glad that you're on board and want to help us, and I just enjoy having these kind of discussions about how to reshape justice.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you for having me.